There were some issues, but not to the point of seemingly agreeing. There seems to be consensus among all stakeholders, the participants, but also the observers and other people who've been keeping a close eye on this election, that things seem to have gone fairly well. But of course, we are still waiting for an update from the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission as to whether indeed that is the case. And you'll recall, of course, Kathy, from that interview we had about an hour ago, that there is that outstanding issue, the allegation that the two leading contenders, Emerson Mnangagwa and Nelson Chamisa, may have breached the Electoral Act. But of course, that issue has been handed over to the police, and hopefully a little later on we'll get an update as to what is going to happen there. But right now, I have two people who are going to try and take us into the future, because whoever wins will have the task, of course, of having to rebuild a country and an economy that was allowed to deteriorate over time. Now, who is it's going to be, of course, that will depend on the outcome of this election. But whoever it's going to be, that person, the question many people are asking, where is that person going to begin? And to help us make sense of it all, I have Dr. James Tsabora as well as Vuyo Muza, who are both going to help us go through some of the key issues. If I may start with you, Mr. Muza. I mean, during elections, parties sometimes try very hard to distinguish themselves, or one from the other. But are ZANU-PF and the MDC alliance as far apart, ideologically that is, as they are made out to be?
I don't think so, Vuyo. In terms of the manifestos that I've studied in the past month, coming from the two political parties, there's not much that distinguishes them in terms of the visions that they have for taking the country forward. There is a realization across the political divide that we as a country have wasted so much time. There is quite a lot that has been lost in terms of economic development, in terms of social development. I need not talk about the social, havoc that happened to Zimbabweans who fled into the diaspora. So there's that acknowledgement, a serious yearning for a future that now takes Zimbabwe forward. So really, it's to me, it then boils down to just a matter of semantics. But the language coming from the two sides is that it's high time that Zimbabwe must go forward. And I have no doubt that whoever comes in, be it Mnangagwa or be it Chamisa, Zimbabwe is destined for better things.
Dr. Tsabora?
I also agree that there's no much difference. Even ideologically, there's a movement whereby past elections they were more known for the ideologies that parties were putting out. But this election particularly, well, what's important is that both parties are striving for a modernization agenda. I think both parties are also going for political liberalism, whereby there's going to open not only political space, but also economic space. So the development agenda, I think it's a common principle in the manifestos or in the political trajectories of both parties. So going forward, I don't see any insistence on ideology. Ideology, I think, is now something of the past, although it will come up here and there as parties try to mudsling each other.
But then there is often a tendency on the continent that once people get that the mandate they seek from the voters, then they do as they please with that mandate.
Yes, I think that's misfortune of African politics. Very few rulers have come up and delivered on their promises, and I think we are also a victim in Zimbabwe of such kind of cheap politics. I think currently I cannot say anything much about the MDC alliance Chamisa, But what I can say is from a ZANU-PF angle that ED he has tried to convince people that I walk the talk by trying to walk the talk before even the elections. So the challenge would be to walk the talk even further. So if Chamisa even comes, I think he has got a whole big job to do, because people want to see real change, they want to see real development. So we have separated ourselves from those politics whereby people just say something and are not accountable to that.
Vote Muza, how likely is it that people may abuse whatever mandate that they may have gotten after today's vote?
I'm really persuaded not to think like that. Why? I've said before, there's a new generation that is yearning for a trajectory of economic advancement. They've suffered enough. We have had the Liberation War generation. They made their mistakes. So whoever walks into the shoes of presidents after these elections has a task on his end, more importantly coming from the pressures of the generational consensus, coming from the youths, the born frees who have not had a taste of the national cake the past 15 years or so. So the pressure really is there when the politicians are going to be coming in to deliver. So it's not going to be just an easy walk in the park to come make promises and then get away with it, as has been the norm elsewhere in Africa. This time around, I think looking at the fundamentals on the ground, really there's going to be pressure that's going to let politicians be compliant and deliver.
Now, say this race is as tight as recent polls have suggested.
Yeah.
Do you think there's an appetite for another government of national unity?
That's tricky. I think the appetite that I have seen is for change, and change for the better. There have been some discussions on the streets or across various divides about government of national unity, which in my view is a possibility, a real possibility. But I don't think that the politicians who are holding the limelight are preparing themselves for a government of national unity. I think that some people want it. Most people think that it's a real possibility, but I don't know to what extent are the political demagogues that we have preparing for such an eventuality.
Ahead of the election, of course, they were both leading parties were hardlining. But do you think they will hardline even after an election if it was to be as close as polls suggest?
I think inclusivity is the way to go in the event of one of the parties making it after these elections. This is necessary for purposes of benefiting from the confidence levels that will be brought about by such a political event. So really, I think it's necessary for the purposes of unifying the country and getting that necessary convergence that will galvanize the nation into the mood to accelerate itself and assert its hegemony within the region and within the continent, because so much has been lost. The only question is to what extent can the politicians implement this inclusivity? But I think that is the methodology. We can leave it to the politicians. But what's important is that perhaps this needs to be appreciated, because it will just bring so much to the nation and just create the necessary momentum that the country needs going forward.
Just looking at the two personalities and what they will be bringing, each as a person, to the party. What can you say about their personality that could enhance or stand in the way of any progress or of them coming together to sort of do what is necessary for the country?
Starting with Chamisa, for example, he is a new kid on the block. He has got a way bigger challenge than ED because he has not been in these political corridors, right? So I think he's a charismatic person. He has got a strong modernization agenda, I think, which he can implement, because their policy, their manifesto is really practical. It's not theoretical. So I think his personality is such a personality that you can expect him to deliver on what he would have said. And then
on the downside,
the kind of, what can I say? there's a level of inexperience, not immaturity, but inexperience. In that, I think it comes with every job, right? It's your first time. You have a longer route to travel before you can understand the war system.
Vote Muza. Nelson Chamisa.
Right, Nelson Chamisa is youthful. He has plenty of energy. I think he has the advantage of trustworthiness in terms of perceptions by the public. He doesn't have any blemishes or legacy issues that he brings in onto the table. So that I think might give him quite a lot of mileage.
On the downside?
On the downside, I think it's the matter of experience that my friend has alluded to. He lacks statesmanship other than the experience that he had during the government of national unity between 2009 and 2013. Not much does he have compared to ED. ED is a tried and tested revolutionary statesman. He has been in the game since 1980. So that way is sort of down against Chamisa. Not to say that he's incapable of delivering, because I think he also has people around him who might just give him the leverage that he needs.
Staying with ED on the downside?
ED has lots of legacy issues. He comes in with a soiled brand that he needs to clean up. That is his major disadvantage. But I don't doubt his sincerity. To Zimbabweans, the past 8 months, he has already given us a sample of what type of menu he wants us to enjoy once he comes into power. Civil liberties, we have had those, relaxed. Of course, there are complaints here and there, but largely compared to that type of government that was in prior to November 2017, you can see quite a marked difference. And that tends to, give more confidence that once ED makes it, Zimbabwe is likely to be not the same.
Yeah. Quick one on your side, ED.
I also agree with Vote that the biggest problem is a legacy issue, also an identity crisis. ZANU-PF as a party has got a lot of age groups. Which group is ED going to identify with, or what kind of direction is he going to follow? There's a lot of issues that he needs to clean up. There's a lot of issues that has been done under the stewardship of ZANU-PF. So he has to find a way of cleansing that, because it comes with his image wherever he goes. Also, something that I've heard around is that he has to deal with the legacy of how he came into power, the role that the army played in his ascending to power. So when he takes over, he has to deal with what role is the army going to play in everything: political development, social development, and economic development.
Gentlemen, thanks to both of you for coming through this evening and for your insights.
All right.
Thank you.